Hello, everyone. Everybody's talking about how AI is changing software development. But today I want to focus on something more practical. If AI can generate code, how should companies identify great engineers? That's what we are exploring today with principal software engineer Brett Kahl. Hey, Brett, welcome to
Hey,
AIX.
hey, how's it going?
Doing good. How are you? How's everything?
Uh, just living the dream, man. Trying to transition into this AI world. It's been quite a ride and journey. It's fun. It seems like it's come out of nowhere quickly, very
It
fast. I
did.
mean,
It did.
it was like
It was out of the blue sky, I would say.
like last year. It was
But
just like I started playing around with ChatGPT, and then the next thing you know, you're asking it tons of questions. Then you're playing with Claude. Then you're playing with Gemini, and then you're vibe coding and you're seeing everybody talk about it on LinkedIn. And then it seems like it's been a part of my realm for, ever now. But yeah, it's just,
that's
it's
that's
come on
right.
fast and it's just fun playing around with it and seeing what the capabilities of it. But it can be dangerous and you can mess some stuff up too. So
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about what we are here for today. So, as we know, AI has completely changed software development over the last few years, as we just mentioned. One question many companies are struggling with is if AI can do the code, if AI can write the code, how should we interview the engineers? So I really would like to get your perspective as this and this Brad as a software engineer, and then I would actually I would I would I would actually ask you one specific question to start with. Given what we know, what do you think? Has AI fundamentally changed what it means to be a good software engineer? What is your take on this?
I missed that last part that you said,
So yes, perfect. So if we agree that has that what we just talked that how the AI completely changed the field, then did AI also fundamentally change what means to be a good engineer, a good software engineer? What
yeah.
like for example, what skills matter more today than they did 5 years ago? Like that. So what is your
So
take on that?
so the thing is right now engineers of 20 years ago, like myself, we've been around and we can understand fundamentally the code, and what was a good engineer back in the day was someone who could memorize and write clean code from memory. Now you can basically spit out all that stuff super quick, super fast, but also you got to understand you can't trust it like all the time. AI will hallucinate and give you an answer for everything that you ask. It never doesn't respond. So it'll give you something. So the difference now between with the newer engineers and things like that, like with today's engineers, like the ones who have been doing it for a while, it makes things it makes you be able to program a lot faster. And basically it allows senior engineers to basically focus more on architecture and platform scalability, certain things like that. And they basically have the guardrails of knowing what is and isn't good about like what AI is generating. So for newer engineers that are like coming out of college or etc., or just people techies that just want to vibe code, the difference I'm noticing now is like even with newer junior engineers that are coming out of school, I would say, you know, if they're just vibe coding and doing things, they'll spit something out. You'll be able to notice the difference between someone who's vibe coding and who actually knows what they're kind of doing with AI. You definitely need to still learn the fundamentals about coding in general. Otherwise, just blindly accepting what AI gives you can be very dangerous. So the
That's
difference is now
that's a
is
really good point. Yeah, yeah. I just want to actually intersect here something. So what would you tell these junior engineers coming out of college? What should they focus on learning that AI cannot do for
so
them?
So what I would focus on, they can work in parallel. I still think you need to learn the fundamentals. You need to if you're going to work with React or Angular, you're going to work with Next.js. You're going to do CSS component libraries. Like I don't know if you're still using Material Design or Twitter Bootstrap or what. You need to really do a deep dive and still understand how those modules and components and libraries, etc., work. You need to go in and actually, instead of using Claude or ChatGPT to build you a component. I mean, that's fine if you want to do it to study it. You can use it to study and then help you understand the fundamentals. But you need to understand the fundamentals and then leverage AI as a tool. And it can help you develop prototypes, certain things like that. But the difference is you need to fundamentally still understand everything, because what I see happening in future engineering like interviews for coming onto a company, we're gonna probably flip it. It's not gonna be like whiteboarding like it was back in the day. Go write out this component. Let me see how you understand it. We expect that you're going to write and use AI code to help you generate that stuff. What we are going to ask is, can you explain the code? Why did Claude write it the way that they did? Can you explain, and do you fundamentally understand why it did that? Can you, and we'll actually also probably throw out bad code and see if they can actually understand it. So these are the things that you have to train the engineer is going to have to learn to prompt correctly.
Yes.
And then there's also these things, obviously in the real world business wise, these Claude tokens can cost a lot of money if not used properly. So does a junior engineer understand? Let's just say you're writing code. Do they know how to like write a skill specifically within your application around a component, so you're not like, let's just say you're trying to make a feature, and you keep prompting it the same thing, but you're asking it versus writing a skill. You could be wasting thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yes. This is this is would be that they call the minimum effective dose to be efficient on the workflow. So just to make sure that each AI call is cost. And the bean counter is going to be actually putting their finger on here, saying like, look, this engineer gonna cost us this much amount versus this other one. So I like what you said, and I would like to ask you about that. Do you think that the roles change today a little bit? So being a junior engineer, you should focus more on the theory than the actual practical parts, versus 5 years ago when you actually had to do it. But today, you rather want to be, according to your opinion, you want to make sure that you know the basis, you know the fundamentals, you know why is happening, what is why is happening. So you would say that a good theory, a good theoretical knowledge about coding, it will be in a need, in requirement again.
Exactly. I mean, other kind of technical, if we're going more on the interview kind of stuff, like these would be like good questions that I'm thinking of, like in our current library, or for our project, we have a standard for components, kind of like we did at Palo. We made the component library, but in ours we're using plop that generates our components, which you remember we were using that at Palo, but our component library has, like, we do SCSS files, we have our test files, we have the component file, we have our playwright files. So basically we have a standard for certain things. So if you go and I ask an engineer, can you create this component, and they go create it. Now, things they need to be aware of, like a vibe coder who's just spitting stuff out and giving you answers, they need to be able to see, did it actually follow our code base, our standards, and things like that. So these are little things that up and coming devs are going to have to learn and understand. And if they don't understand the fundamentals of programming, and got that experience, I mean, today things go so fast. I know all the kids are probably going to be using AI, but they have to study what it's doing and understand it and put it to textbook, and kind of, if you don't have that fundamental and you're just spitting stuff out, it's gonna be a tough road for
sure.
you.
Yeah, that actually takes us for the next question, which I was actually wanted to discuss with you. What do you think today, 2026? June. Do you think today traditional coding interviews still work? Like straight up out as this, like is whiteboard interviews, lead code style questions, they still measuring the right thing?
Um, Not really. I don't. I don't think. I mean, I don't think that's. I still think some maybe government or maybe some companies that are not using some of the more advanced, like if they have restrictions about AI, because there's still a lot of companies that are like, no AI, I can't have that in our application. But a lot of the startups and newer companies and big tech companies are adapting to it. So, but the old ones that can't, then they're probably going to stick to the traditional way. But I mean, in the future, 5 years from now, no. I mean, if you want to be left behind, I guess you would. But technically, today's, like I said, I kind of already explained it before. We're not doing traditional whiteboarding. I'm not going to ask you to build a binary tree and work it down because, I mean, when you can have AI do that, what I would rather you do is I'd rather give you something, give you a problem to break down, or give you like project, like high level. Can I give you a feature? Can you break this down into smaller components? How can you
Right,
talk it out? Can you
right.
explain
And more like a
problem
system
solve?
design. Yes, yeah.
Exactly. So,
So
I mean, yeah, like
basically,
literally,
yes. So basically, you would actually want to give them a real task, something like a broken dashboard, a performance bottleneck, an unstable API
yep,
integration, and then not only just allow AI tools, I would require them to use it because
yep,
that's what they're
absolutely.
going to do at work. There is
Yep.
no point spending $50,000 per candidate and average 52 days. I think this is the industry standard, and to work through all of this old style thing, which and you end up with with a worker who actually gonna do the same thing like they could have
Yep.
shown you in one real modern practical interview.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
very good. So
Yeah.
so yeah, go on please.
Well, I was just saying, yeah, like why do we want to? I mean, right now, the early adapters of AI are working much faster. Like on our team, like I said, in 5 years from now, if you stay behind, you're just going to be working slower. So, like in your interview question, like I mean, why would I want to train someone on a whiteboard when that's a lot slower when they could have AI do it? So, if you can break them down, I would rather just give them a dummy project that has a setup, and then give them a problem to solve with the working application and update it and have AI use it. I'd have Claude running inside of the project internally, give them some kind of task, and I'd want them to just walk me through and explain what Claude is doing and why would you choose this code over that code. That to me is more beneficial because currently on our team that I work for, we're adopting AI and we're using AI as like AI is my little junior assistant, and it always spits out tons and tons of code always. But the difference between a good developer and someone who is just vibing is you got it. AI is always going to give you good or bad code. You have to be able to code review it and understand what it's spitting out. Otherwise, that can be problematic. So,
Yeah, that's actually a good. You brought up a good subject because how do we distinguish between an engineer who understands software deeply and someone who is simply good at prompting?
well, I think, well, if you're see, there you go. If I think if you're good at prompting, you have to be good at prompting too. That there's some benefits in being very good at prompting. I think if you're good at prompting and getting the code that you want, then that's a good skill to have because I think the future engineers are going to need to understand what the project's needs are, but they also have to be good at prompting, and prompting, putting boundaries and guardrails on your code makes you a very strong developer. Now, I don't think you can put good prompts in if you're just vibing. Like some people just say make this, but like when if you have experience, you're going to know exactly what you need. And I mean, you can have like a worksheet that literally you know what you're asking for. I don't think you know junior devs are going to have that experience to be able to prompt right. They're
What are the warning signs you think that a candidate doesn't really understand the system they're building?
well, if they can't explain, if I give them a task and I know that Claude gave the wrong answer, but they are giving me the response that, hey, I built your dashboard, or your navigation, if they can't tell me why they did it and why the code that even though it's working, why it's incorrect, or explain what could be better about it, or why is it breaking our workflow, those would be red flags. Because you can't be just spitting code in that willy-nilly. You kind of have to understand what's going in. And that right now is what the difference between good developers and people who are trying to get into development. You'll notice it really quickly, pretty much. Like you can pick up on it pretty quickly. It's just we're going to adapt to different questions. Now we're going to have to move, like especially in the interview process, we're going to have to, instead of whiteboarding, AI can pretty much answer any JavaScript, like vanilla JavaScript question that has been asked for years and ages. JavaScript can, or I mean, AI can pretty much write out anything. So now you have to shift gears and basically ask your engineers. I mean, you have to ask them, can you make it do what we're asking, but also explain it?
Okay, so then we kind of we settle it. So if a candidate uses ChatGPT during an interview, it's not cheating. But would you rather hire someone who solves everything without AI, or someone who knows how to leverage AI effectively?
I think you're
Like,
getting. Because you see it on LinkedIn, people complaining. They don't want AI. I mean, I don't know what we can do about it. Like, I mean, I don't think you can just stop AI.
yeah,
If you don't adapt and transition, you're gonna get left behind. Because in 5 years, the people who chose to adapt to it are going to be working at such a high pace. I can see engineers doing product owners. I know this sounds scary, but they could do product owners, not design. You still need design, but I mean, it'll give you a design if you ask for it. But I can see individual developers having little AI assistants like junior, like the AI is actually its junior assistant. So I have a secretary now working for me. I can have it pull in designs, creating Jira tickets like a product owner would be doing, and then actually creating merge requests for me, and then I just go and review it while I'm architecting or figuring out scalability issues with our app, like, or security issues, things that I can focus my time more on, while I can have AI doing all the little things, and then it does it in 10 minutes versus something that a junior dev or maybe even myself would take a day to do. You can get it done in the matter of minutes, and then you just go look at it. So
for sure, for sure, for sure. So this is actually brings to my mind that podcast I was listening with, I think with Joe Rogan and NVIDIA CEO, right, Jensen, when they brought up that famous story when everybody thought that when the AI comes in, they're not going to be any more radiologists. And then it turns out that today they are more radiologists than actual than 5 years ago.
right.
So it's just exactly what you said. You just said this frees up your time to do more what you are good in, and for this reason, I think I would actually have one last question to you, and then maybe something we can discuss. So if we fast forward 5 years, what do you think engineering interviews will look like? At
I,
what companies are getting wrong today? So what do you think those engineering interviews will look like in 5 years now?
I honestly think you might have some companies are going to do it differently. Like, I still think that people will still talk about, like, you've gone to interviews where they're like, whiteboard, you got to program this, and it's really hard, or they give you like a take home quiz, or you just chat sometimes. I don't know. I think you're still going to have a variety. Like, some will just chat, and if you can explain yourself well, I think that could be in an interview. But I think for the most part, anyone who is not like senior yet, I can see literally, like I said before, you'll probably get some kind of take home quiz, no pressure, and you'll be given a task, and you'll be told to use AI, and you'll be asked to document and write down why did you pick this route, and explain and break down the code. So I definitely believe that is going to be the future of interviews.
Gotcha.
You may even have them like in person, where they just give you something, and then you write down the AI, or you have AI write up the stuff, and you explain it to them in person. Like, so, but I think that's going to be in the ballpark somewhere around that you're going to be having some just like the original ones, but you're just going to be using AI, and you're going to have to explain your reasoning behind it. So
Yeah.
instead
So
of
it looks like
and you're giving an answer. So
yeah. So it looks like it's not the quantity, but the quality gonna matter. So which means that the question is not if you can do it. It's the question is how well did you do it. The question
exactly.
is how, like now we will have the luxury to measure the difference in quality, not like before the interviews were like, was this candidate able to perform? Was this candidate able to actually solve the problem? The question today is not if they were going to be able to solve the problem, because AI is solving the problem.
Right.
The question is how did it
Yeah,
solve the
I
problem?
think that's going to be exactly how it's going to be. We know you're going to get an answer when we tell you to use AI, but we want
Sure.
you to explain it. Like if you can't
Yes,
explain it, you're going to fail an interview pretty quickly. So
that's for sure. All right. Hey, Brett, thank you. I'm sure, and I know you are very busy, and then I see the
hey,
screens behind you probably waiting for
oh,
you.
no. I'm actually getting ready to go to the pool after this.
Awesome.
let,
That's even better.
let me explain what we're doing kind of cool in our company. I know
Awesome.
I'd mentioned
Cool.
it to
Go on.
you, and I kind of talked about it in the interview process. One of the cool things like I said, we've been using AI now for 6 months. We initially started with Gemini because we knew Claude was expensive, and then so our company's pushing us to use AI. So, which is kind of cool because most companies, early adopters, like some people haven't pushed it. So I'm excited that I'm actually working for a company that's not afraid of it. So we started with Gemini, and what we actually did is we integrated it with our GitLab. And so whenever anybody creates a merge request, Gemini kicked off and does a code review. And we prompted it in our CI/CD pipeline, so it'll actually code review. And we put prompts in there to say we don't want any innies, we don't want any of the all the stuff that you would want in a code review. So we actually were having our offshore, like when the offshore team, because we would come in and it'd be like 28 merge requests, and it's like, how it is. You've reviewed code. Sometimes it's like hard to keep up with when you have a lot of developers on your team. So with ease, and we just keep adding like new prompts when we're like, okay, it messed up on this. Let's add a new prompt. So Gemini will do. It usually spits out 4 things you can do if you're in your code, and it'll tell you, like, and so it gives the code review, which saved us a lot of time on having to look. And then obviously we would review what the code review mentioned, and then we look at the threads that it opened, etc. Obviously it can still hallucinate. Like some people comment, hey, you're hallucinating, Gemini. I'm not fixing that. Well, we found out like after a few months, management was like, hey, we'll go to Claude. We're like, hey, that's expensive, but we'll go ahead and do it. So we put Claude in and switched the code review process with Claude. And then so we're starting to do some other stuff. We do these AI meetings bi-weekly, and everybody talks about all the cool stuff that they've been playing around with it. What we actually did is I did a test. So our designers use Figma. And so, and we use Jira and we use GitLab. So I added all of our access tokens into my environment local file. And I basically asked Claude, I said, hey, read this URL of this Figma file. So I gave it a component and a link. I said, I want you to go out and look at this component. I want you to analyze it. If you have any questions, ask me before you hallucinate and do whatever. I want you to follow our component standard guidelines. And I said, I want you to then take what you understand of this component in Figma. I want you now to go to our Jira, and I want you to create a ticket, write out the description in the acceptance criteria in a Jergens like syntax. I want you to add the Figma link. I want you to add the screenshots, and then from that, I want you to take the Jira ID from the story you created, which is what a product owner would do. Take that Jira ID, open up an MR, merge request in GitLab, push the code that I prompted you to do to follow our coding standards, make a draft out of it because we didn't want it to push there, but we wanted to test it and see what it was capable of. So put it in draft mode, create a merge request, push it to GitLab, and then which kicked off its code review of itself. It code reviewed itself, then made changes and pushed them up, and it did it in a matter of 10 minutes, which was
That sounds very, very smooth. and then ease is coming out from your words. Maybe we should do another talk about going deeper into the technical solutions which actually you identified while working with AI. Maybe just one question here: do you use any kind of heuristics to somehow offset the how much you call AI? So you understand me? Because you say some prompts, right? Like make sure don't use any and stuff. Like because in my experience, finding the least necessary AI call numbers to achieve the most necessary effect is kind of the fine line between being a successful AI user or not. So do you guys actually trying to offset the AI costs as much as possible?
So what we did is, you mean to save money on like tokens, etc.?
I'm saying like don't call the AI if you already have an answer. Or for example, we can set up a heuristics which already catching the any's. You don't need to have AI catch the any.
You're right. Yeah, I mean, we're literally, like I said, if anything slips through, we keep adding the prompts. Where it's growing. So what you're gonna understand is when you initially add Claude to any project, first things first, you don't want to waste tokens, which is going to cost the company a lot of money. So you can actually, once you integrate Claude, let's just say into your application, you could say Claude init, and what it's going to do, it's going to spend a lot of tokens and money to literally understand and read your project, and then it'll, based on that Claude init, it'll create a Claude MD file and put it in the root of your project, and then anytime you make prompts after that, it'll know everything about your project without having to learn it again. So you're saving money on cost. So from that point, basically AI is adapting to your application. So anything you find moving forward that you might want to change or integrate, you're always putting them into the skills and adding, because you'll catch sometimes when it's doing something or a task that you want, it may miss something. We're human, so we're basically training AI and telling it what we want it to catch. So
sounds good.
It's an evolution.
It is an evolution, yes.
Well,
all right, perfect. Thank you very much, Brad. Appreciate your time, and we're gonna let you go and hit the pool. It should be warm on the East Coast, and then I will catch you maybe another time. Let's talk about some technical subjects. Okay, sounds good.
Definitely.
All right, Brad. Thank you. Appreciate it again. Thank you for joining us.
You have a good one, man. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Later.
Take care.